All right. So our next topic is again staying on the political train here. So look, crypto raised about $135 million to spend in different U.S. Senate and House races, and it seems like there are about 48 races where these different super PACs spent money, and it looks like they went basically 100% They hit 48 of 48. I think they did what they intended to do. Now I know Fair Shake and a few of these other super PACs uh, targeted these campaigns in a way that they knew they had a pretty high chance of success. Personally, I think it's kind of a shame that there's so much money in politics, but these are the rules we have. This is the industry we have, and this is the result we achieve. So Kyle, what do you think? Is crypto now a real player in the political industry by virtue of industry just spending tons of money to get these legislative outcomes?
Well, you stole my thunder a little bit when you said you wish there wasn't so much money in these races, but you're right. I mean, you don't hate the player, hate the game. That's just the reality of the world we live in. If you have a lot of money to spend, chances are you're going to do all right in these elections, especially following, Citizens United. It's just the way it is. I don't make the rules. But to answer your question directly, how could you possibly deny that? Look at the just the outflow of support that this industry has. I mean, when Trump was at Bitcoin Nashville earlier this year, people were going crazy for it. Not just there, but everybody in the industry was so excited because, love him or hate him, he is one of the most well-known people in the world, shining a bright light on this industry, and only good things can come from that. And this is more ripple effects from that. And regardless of who won the election, obviously with Trump, it's going to be a little bit more favorable, presumably, than it would have been under a President Harris administration. But be that as it may, there is this belief that the whole world is going to kind of open up, and the U.S. is going to be not only more welcoming of people trying to capitalize in this industry and sell these assets and partake in innovation and do wonderful things, that this is just a no-brainer for me. I can't see how crypto isn't here to stay. I mean, especially when you run the table like this, 100% of all the elections that you backed. I mean, I don't know. That's pretty good. I'm not an accountant, but I'd say they did pretty well.
It's a pretty good hit rate. 100% is pretty good.
100% is pretty good. It's better than I got.
Yeah, look, I think there's some big names. I think most notably is Sherrod Brown being unseated by Bernie Moreno, and that's who is a former crypto executive, and so that's sending a message. I think shockwaves perhaps through the political apparatus. So I guess the question is this momentum going to be continued and pushed through?
Right.
Now that we have people in these seats in that are going to be backing the industry. And this is something, we heard, harkening back to what you mentioned about Bitcoin Nashville, is I think sandwiching the Trump speech was basically different people. I think one of them was Edward Snowden. One of them was one of the organizers of I think a Bitcoin core developer. And basically saying as part of that, that speech that be careful what you wish for.
Right.
Don't trust these politicians coming up and saying everything that they're going to be saying. And I think there's some of that too. Let's be optimistic, but let's also be skeptical. Let's make sure that there's no kind of letting the guard down, saying, hey, we spent the money, we got the people in we want in there. Let's just let them kind of take care of business. I think there is now this okay, we're going to have perhaps a political apparatus that's going to listen to us, but we need to now speak and say what we want and still kind of push that ball. And I think the reaction that was so extreme here is really a counter. All this money was raised and was spent because of what happened under the current administration, right? So we got to keep going, right? Job's not over.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head before when you were saying that this legislation needs to happen relatively sooner, one, for momentum purposes, but two, just due to the election cycle in this country. It's not going to be that long of a time before we're already talking about midterms. And if this legislation hasn't been done at that point, you wonder if it will during Trump's administration, just quite honestly. I mean, I don't think anybody in this country anymore is, I hesitate to use the word naive, but naive enough to think that when somebody's running for office, they say, here's 1,000 things I'm going to do, that they're going to do all of them. It's not possible, even in the best of terms. And I'd be saying the same thing if Harris had won. So if Trump can get through a fifth of what he promised at that conference, I mean, that would be good for the industry no matter what. So we'll see.